Hello you beautiful human, I'm Xanthe, and today we are going to be talking about how I knew I was gay and what the journey was. So, I made this type of video about a year ago, but I was so awkward. I was at my girlfriend's university staying over for a weekend or something. And she had to like go to a meeting or whatever, and so she left the dorm and I was staying in her dorm to do some homework for high school because I'm just a grade younger than her. So I was doing some homework and I was like, hey, why not make a video? But then while I was making the video I realized, oh, her dorm mates are still there and they can hear me talking. So I was like super awkward, super quiet, cut a lot out, and yeah. But today we are going to be going more in depth with how I discovered myself, kind of like what happened for me to become aware of my being. So where to begin? Well, it all started when I was born. No, I'm just kidding. So when I was about 9 or 10, my parents called my brother and I into the bedroom and they're like, hey, we have something to tell you. And we're like, cool, what is it? Like, are we having PB&J for lunch or something? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I was like, sure, tell me what's up. And I walk in and my mom's crying and I'm like, oh my gosh, no, what is happening? And then she tells me and my brother, she's like, do you know what gay is? And I was like, no, what is that word? I don't know what that means. Little did I know I would be using that term quite often in my life, but we didn't know as a little 9-year-old, did not know. So my mom was like, well, it means that someone who is a girl can like a girl, or someone who is a boy can like a boy. And I was like, what? Sorry, what? And she's like, having a romantic relationship with someone who is the same gender as you is allowed. And I was like, brain exploded. And she's like, so your father and I are splitting because I'm gay. And I was like, interesting. And weirdly, I wasn't that upset about the whole divorce thing. I was more like, oh my gosh, liking the same gender is like allowed. Oh, cool. And a huge sign of being part of the community is that like you find it so interesting and you research it a ton. You're really like, ah yes, I'm an ally, I'm really for these gays. And so that was basically me just being like, whoa, I didn't know that was a thing. And then I was like, cool, gay finger guns. So that was the first thing that happened, like the first big thing. Yes, the divorce was interesting, but the actual her telling me what gay was me being like, whoa, cool. So that was the big thing that happened in my life. And I feel like if that didn't happen first, or at that time in my life, it would have taken me longer to understand what it means. So I'm really, really happy that that happened in my life when it did. Everything happens for a reason. I'm gonna move on to the next thing now. So when my parents had separated and my mom was with her girlfriend, my dad was dating some gals, and there was this one lady who he was dating, and she had a daughter who's like a year younger than me, I think, and we just like instantly clicked. I don't know what it was. We are right, like today we are such opposite people, but it was insane when we were like 11, I think, or she was 10, I was 11. And so at this point I was still like, I kind of forgot about the whole gay thing, but it was still like in the very back of my mind. And so her and I got really, really close. We were calling each other sisters because I thought either I liked her so much that I wanted to be her, or I wanted to be like her best friend in the whole world. Little did I know I wanted to be with her. So my little 11-year-old self was like, whoa, I really, really like this girl. And so since my mom told me she was gay, I was like, oh, she's a good person to tell what my feelings are. And so I wrote her a little note. I was like, hey, I like this girl. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, whatever. And I gave it to her, and I told her not to open it when I was there because I was going to my dad's house that night. So I was like, okay, read it when I'm at my dad's house and just read it. Do not read it with me in the room. So then she read it, and I think she texted me saying like, I love you or something like that. And I was like, whew. So then I was so nervous for some reason. I don't know really why. I was just so nervous to go back to her house the next morning. So I went back to her house and I was like, so did you read it? And she was like, no. She was like, yes. And so we sat down, had a little chat, and she's like, it's okay, it's all good. Like, it's okay if you like girls, it's okay if you like boys, it's okay if you like both, it's okay if you like none, all this different stuff. Like, it's also okay if it's a phase, it's okay, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, a phase, that's great. I don't want to be gay because that is terrifying. And so I was like, literally, I took her words so literally. It was insane. Probably shouldn't have done that. But I was like, okay, it being a phase is totally fine. So I was like, yes, I am going through a phase. And then, not too long after I had developed these like big feelings for her, my dad and her mom broke up. And so I wasn't seeing this girl anymore. And my dad was in the car. He knew how much I was connected with this girl. He didn't know why, but he just knew I was like really good friends with her. My dad told me I was never seeing this girl again, and I was devastated. Like, I didn't cry or anything in front of him. I kind of just like went blank, looked out the window, and didn't really say anything. And I didn't realize at the time why I did that or why I had acted like that. But I think now that I'm thinking about it and I already know who I am, I had an obvious crush on her, right? And I think that since I had a huge crush on her, that's why I was so devastated, because literally, like, the girl I gave all my feelings to, or I felt I did, was just gone out of my life. And I haven't seen her since, and I'm like over it. But her and I definitely texted a lot or whatever on like Facebook Messenger. We sent a lot of like we sent a lot of like voice messages to each other, and we really just talked and blah blah. But then eventually we kind of just faded away, and that's fine. So I'm really glad that she was in my life when she was, and that I got the opportunity to have a crush on her and to know what that felt like, and stuff like that. I think I knew I had a crush on her because I was starting to have dreams about like her and I hanging out a lot. I wasn't in the stage of like kissing her or anything yet. I was still like pretty small. I wasn't really thinking about that. After that, I went to public school for the first time ever in grade 7, so I was like 12 or 13. And the reason I hadn't gone to school or public school before was because I was homeschooled. So this was my first time kind of in society and everything like that. I had never faced peer pressure before. I had never faced like big groups against other big groups and everything like that. I was developing feelings, I guess, for guys, because there were so many boys in my school and a lot of them were nice looking. And so since I thought they were nice looking, I was like, oh, I obviously like them. Clearly my feelings for this other girl in the past was a phase, and I'm straight, duh. But then there was this other girl. And she was super nice to me. She was one of my first friends there at school, and she was also pretty tomboyish, so I was like, ooh, maybe she's gay. And this is what we call stereotyping or stigma. She's not. But I started developing feelings for her, and at this point it was hard for me to decipher the difference between really liking someone and just thinking they're pretty looking. Like for the guys, I would be like, ooh, they look nice or they're cute, but like I would totally date them. But at that time I was also pretty young and I wasn't thinking about sex or anything like that, and so it was literally just based on their looks. And I didn't even know them. Like, I didn't even know their personality. I didn't know anything like that. So when this girl came into my head, I would have dreams about like hanging out with her, just like with the other girl that I liked before. And I would have dreams about like kissing her, and I was like, what is happening? So I would go to school all awkward and they would all ask me, ooh, who do you like? Who do you like? And I would just make up a random guy's name because I was like, well, that's what everyone seems to be doing, is liking guys. Like, all the girls are liking guys, all the guys are liking girls, so why would I be different? And that's a downside to elementary school because people are still figuring themselves out, and it's really hard to figure yourself out when everyone else seems to be straight. So I eventually told this girl how I felt, and that was probably one of the most awkward days of my life. It was right in the morning and I was like, hey girl, not hey girl, I'm just not saying her name, hey blank, I like you, like that. And then she was like, okay, and then I just kind of like bolted away. I don't know what I was thinking. I was either hoping for her to like me back or for myself to get over her, and surprise surprise, it was the second option. But she was super sweet about it. The later that day she was like, hey, I don't want to ruin our friendship, blah blah blah. I was like, thank you. So yeah. Anyway, so that was my big thing in school, was I thought I had to like boys because that's what everyone else was doing, and I just didn't really know the difference between my crushes. But I definitely missed this girl a lot and everything. I never really thought about the guys. So then high school came around. This was grade 8, by the way, when I told her. High school came around and we were in grade 9 and I was like 14 at this point, 13 or 14. It was interesting. High school was even weirder because there were more different types of people, and I didn't know most of these people because I was in my small elementary school. I knew all these people. Now I walked into a big school and I was like, well, don't know any of these people, but they seem pretty cool. So I was in my first grade 9 class and there was this girl. I know, isn't there a pattern going on? Maybe my brain should have picked up on this. But there was this girl and she was gorgeous. Like, oh my goodness, so pretty. And I was like, wow, she's very pretty. So naturally I was like, let's be friends. And she's the type of person who's kind of like closed in, not really out there like I am. And so I'm naturally drawn to the people who are more closed in, introverted for some reason. I don't know why. But Anyway, so I was like, yes, I need to be her friend. And I later realized that me being like obsessed with needing to be her friend actually meant that I had a crush on her. And I was like, no, I do not want to have a crush on a girl. I do not want to be gay. That is going to be so, not good. So difficult. Anyway, so I was like, okay, I should like a guy. And lo and behold, there was a boy. I was in this English class and there was this boy. Actually, there were 18 boys and myself. So I made a lot of guy friends that year. But there was this boy. He was pretty cute, super nice, talkative, blah blah blah. So I was like, yes, I totally like him. And he was actually the first ever person who liked me back. So what happened was, we were texting or something, and he was like, hey, my guy friends are like asking me if you like me, what should I say? I said, well, you should just tell them the truth, say yes. I've always been the person to tell people that I like them, like to go first and then like the other person goes. Anyway, so he's like, oh, okay. And then like a week later, he was like, oh, by the way, I also like you. I was like, are you kidding me? Why didn't you just tell me like when I told you? Anywho, he came around. So then we started to date, or wheel, as we said in grade 9. So basically what the thing was, we knew we liked each other, but we just didn't do anything about it. I asked him to hang out with me at lunch and he was like, oh, sorry, I had to go home. And he just kept ditching me, which like, I don't really, like, I'm not angry at him for doing that. I'm kind of glad he did that because it made me realize like, oh, it's fine. And the thing is, I wasn't even that sad about it. Like, I was kind of relieved I didn't have to have lunch with him, even though I liked him. So it was a weird time. But then this one lunch, we actually hung out, but it wasn't even like a good time. It was with his other friends as well, and it was just a whole thing. Anyway, so that went on for the last semester of grade 9, and I still liked this other girl in my mind. So then like the first weekend of summer or something, he texted me. He's like, hey Xanthe, so I think we should just be friends. I don't know if this is really working out, blah blah. And I was like, yes, please. I was gonna say the same thing, and I was not sad about it at all. I was like relieved that he said that. I was literally just about to text him like saying, hey, I don't really want a date or whatever. And so he was like, sure, whatever. So then we were just friends for grade 10 the next year. So then in grade 10, guess what? Another girl. Oh my gosh. Yeah, another girl. Again, thought she was pretty. I was like, oh my gosh, I like this girl. And I like hung out with her. Again, I would have dreams about hanging out with her, kissing, whatever. And I would never have dreams about that with a boy. And I was slowly realizing that, hey, I actually am not sexually attractive to men. And I was like, this is weird. I mean, I don't know. It was just weird to realize, hey, I'm not bisexual. I actually went to the GSA group in my school, which is Gay Straight Alliance, and one of my friends set it up. They were like, hey, wanna come? And I was like, yes. So then I went to GSA, and literally GSA has changed my life. It started off with like a ton of people who were queer, gay, straight, blah blah blah, trans, non-binary, all this good stuff, and all these people started coming. And there was this other girl. So the girl I liked at the beginning of grade 10 was like, whatever, I know she's straight, it's fine. But then I went to GSA and I saw this girl that I actually had known from my childhood, and her name was Katrina, or is Katrina. And I went there and she was actually dating this girl at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're gay? Like, this is crazy. I knew you when we were children. This is amazing. And I was so happy because that meant that I had hope I could date a girl in my lifetime. I was so happy and so excited. Little did I know, Katrina would actually be the one I'm dating. Anyway, so, yeah, I went to GSA, and later Katrina broke up with this other girl. Like, they broke up. And so Katrina and I started hanging out. We were actually in this musical, High School Musical, with our community theater group, and I started to slowly but also very rapidly develop feelings for her. It was very strange because I had never liked anyone in the way that I liked her. I felt like I liked her, first of all, more and more strongly because I knew she was gay, or at least bi, which she's bi. And also, I was getting to know her as a person, not just like, ooh, she's pretty, which she is, but I got to learn about her. I had a pattern of liking girls, not liking guys, trying to like guys, not really liking guys. I eventually came out on social media, actually just before I started dating Katrina, and there was a big thing. But yeah, I hope this was helpful and that you could relate to it. I also, one big thing I did was look up a ton of gay quizzes and gay YouTubers, a ton. It was insane. Anyway, so that's how I knew, and I am a lesbian. I am happy being lesbian, and I really, really hope that I help you a little bit. I love you so much. Please leave a like if you liked it, share this video if you think it will help someone else, comment down below what was the most relatable part, what you realized during this video, if any video suggestions you have for the future, anything like that. I am so excited to read your comments, and subscribe for more videos every week. I will see you in this video here where I talk about how I knew I was gay a year ago. See you there.